will be continuing, and the fun is only beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Saturday night after the bell. I swear, this is the first time I did this tonight. There's no way we talked about this and I didn't press record. My name is Johnson Dell. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
This is a SmackDown that we were wondering if we were going to get on the road to Survivor Series and, of course, War Games. We've been sort of fantasy booking this for a few weeks, wondering what we were going to see. And I think we got some answers in this episode here. So without further ado, John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from SmackDown for November 8th, 2024?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And the lead is we have a main event talking segment with the Bloodline, which there's a lot of back and forth. We'll dig into it now. But at the end of the day, it looks like Sami Zayne is now UCE again as he joins the old Bloodline. We have Bloodline 2.0, Bloodline 1 kind of interrupting throughout the whole process here. And pretty big talking segment / schmozz segment. But end of the day, Sami Zayn appears to join the Bloodline. Dom, what'd you think of this main event?
I liked it because they finally gave us some explicit acknowledgement of War Games, and that's what they were building for. Mm-hmm. The show goes off the air with the original Bloodline, or at least minus Solo Sikoa, in the ring, standing tall. Jey Uso throws up the ones. Jimmy Uso from the other side throws up the ones. Sami and Roman Reigns stare down with each other. Sami steps in a little closer to Roman, and he says, "Are you in or are you out?" And Sami holds up the ones. And then finally, Roman raises the one finger, and the show goes off the air like that. But how we got there, I mean, we've been predicting it for a while, but I do like the way they got us there. The beginning of this long segment was the Undisputed Tribal Chief Acknowledgement Ceremony with Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu in the ring. Solo wants to be acknowledged. Roman Reigns' music hits, and he walks out. And he's got an offer for Solo. Solo wants him to acknowledge me. Roman doesn't do that. He says he's got an offer. I want you one-on-one. And Solo decides, no, I don't have a one-on-one for you. I want a 5-on-5 offer for War Games. And Solo claims his team is the 4 standing there in the ring, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, plus he says the 5th is Sami Zayn. And that's when Sami appears at the entranceway, and he just stands there and he stares. He doesn't make a move toward the ring. He just stares. Because he and Roman had a confrontation earlier in the night that did not go well. And Sami's just staring at Roman. And of course, Bloodline 2.0 starts beating down Roman Reigns. Jey and Jimmy run out from the back. Sami's still at the entranceway watching. Now, of course, the new Bloodline clears the ring. It's 4-on-3, except for Solo and a beaten down Roman. Solo motions for the spike. And at that point, instead of spiking, he points to Sami, and you know this is coming. He points to Sami and calls Sami to the ring. He says, "Sami, kick him in the face. Kick Roman in the face." And you're like, he's going to kick Solo in the face. And Solo's like, "Kick him in the face," and he's holding up Roman. Kick him in the face. Roman's like, at this point, he's almost non-responsive. Sami winds up, charges, and Haluva kicks Solo square in the head. At that point, Jacob Fatu hits the ring, charges Sami. Sami ducks. Roman has recovered, hits the Superman punch on Jacob. So now it's Sami and Roman basically rescuing each other. And that this brings the two of them together. You know, Roman spears Solo. Jey and Jimmy return to the ring. The Bloodline 2.0 retreats. And that's where you get that final image going off the air. How surprised were you at this? And if you were 0% surprised, as I was, did you still like the way it was executed? Because not everything in wrestling is about being surprised.
No.
A lot of it is about how well do they execute and perform.
If anything, I don't necessarily like to be surprised all that much, because it doesn't have to be a million swerves, and that's like makes no sense because there's all these swerves. Yeah, Sami Zayn was the thing that made the bloodline so good, right?
Yeah. Yep.
He really added so much to it. It was not only the comedic element, but the backstabbing element, because he's not a member of the family. So, he has that going for him. Ultimately, I would say the segment was good, especially for a main event. A bloodline main event, you kind of can't go wrong, right? With these talking segments. They're never cringe. They're always solid. And that would be, how I felt about it. But,
how about the setup, though? Do you want to go there? Because this was another one of those bloodline bookends that we saw a lot when we first started doing Don't Bury the Lead.
Let's wrap to the, because they do opener and finish.
It's kind of the lead still is the opening segment of the show, because they're connected, right? So Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso are in the ring by themselves, because those are the only two that are the really strong allies. Roman's about to speak. When Jay's music hits, he joins them in the ring. Jay says there's a lot of misunderstanding because they all kind of got together on Monday Night Raw as well for a little bit. He wants them to hear what Sami Zayn has to say. And so Jay calls out Sami. Now, the four of them are in the ring. I thought Sami cut a pretty good promo here. And he asked Roman to apologize. The only way he'll join up again is if Roman apologizes. And Roman laughs, said, "You think I know you an apology?" And Sami says, "No. Apologize to Jay." And they didn't go into this too much. I thought they should have. Jay's big beef with Roman was, he didn't treat them as equals. Now, you should be treating us as equals, not as we're your underlings. And I thought that was a big deal because, men on equal footing apologize to each other. Men, if you think you're superior to somebody else, you don't give them that respect. So Sami was kind of testing Roman. It's like, if you won't respect Jay enough to apologize, then you're clearly not going to respect me enough, because I'm not your blood. You've already made it clear I'm not your family that way. I'm not your blood relative. And so I thought Sami was great in this. And Roman goes over to Jay and says, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you ever let me waste my time with him." And he points to Sami. And after that, Sami just leaves. And, we see after a commercial, they go right back to backstage, and there's Roman snapping at Jay, and then he snaps at Jimmy again. So they're teasing that these guys are not together. And, to be fair, Sami Zayn had hinted at this online on his Twitter feed, his X feed earlier. I don't know if you want to bring that up. Somebody named Tay, if you want to share the screen here, had said, if Sami's not family, okay, then explain this. And he's got this old picture of there's Joe on Hawaii with Jonathan and Joshua Fatu. Of course, Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jay Uso. And, I mean, there's clearly Sami Zayn, a young Sami Zayn in this picture. So they've known each other for a long time. So whoever made this and posted it to X, this was gold. And Sami Zayn, of course, saw it and said, "I remember that day well. It was a Friday. We went out that night, and I remember it clearly because we were listening to DMX on the way to the club. And it was the first time I'd ever heard someone say that a song was tight. Great times, but sadly, those days are gone." Sami is gold no matter what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then this was fantastic. Here he is playing it up even earlier this week on what was Monday. Monday and Tuesday here. By the time Sami got to it, it was Tuesday evening. Saying, sadly, those days are gone. He's joking around that, they once had something, but not anymore. Those days are gone.
The picture is so great because of the three Usos look even more specifically like macho and like, he looks like kind of like crap a little bit with just the way, because the one's a pro picture and the other looks like it may have been taken with like an old cell phone camera,
Sure.
so he just does look, he still looks like, haggard, if you will.
Yes, I believe that the joke really is that the three of them were in this picture. This was like you said, a professional shot taken of the cousins, and somebody just sort of graphic clipped and pasted an old photo of a Sami Zayn from perhaps the same age range, just sort of hoisted him in there.
Yeah.
And yes, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things does not belong. The old Sesame Street thing.
Yeah.
But hey, I believe this is an authentic picture. I don't know about you, John, but I 100%. These guys have been, as Sammy said, tight for many years, for longer than we've ever known that as WWE fans. So
Yeah.
Excellent work. This was a great setup. And again, like you were saying, if the execution is so well done as it was here for this Bloodline bookend, I don't mind the fact that, I predicted this 3 weeks ago on this show. Talking about
true.
War Games is going to be Bloodline 2.0 versus Bloodline 1.0. They're going to bring Sammy back. It's going to be 4-on-4. You don't need to be 5-on-5. So the fact that there was no swerve here, I don't mind at all, because they did it well.
Are we sure it's not going to be 5-on-5?
Well, at this point, I don't know.
Because
I mean, is The Rock going to be involved?
I mean, that would be obviously the icing on the cake, right? To get The Rock involved.
We've got 3 weeks before Survivor Series. It's 3 weeks from tonight as we live stream. It'll be Saturday, November 30th. So they've got 3 Raws and 3 SmackDowns to kind of put a bow on this package we're going to unwrap at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Things change, obviously, yes. But you don't need War Games to be 5-on-5. Perhaps the most famous one ever, which was the NWO one, where they all thought that the WCW guys thought that Sting had turned on them, and it turns out he did not. That was a 4-on-4.
Ah.
They don't need to be 5-on-5.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it'd be pretty good the setup they have right now.
Yep.
5-on-5 might be that might be doing overbooking, like having too much going on at once.
Yep.
Just, some things to kind of wrap up the lead here. I love the FU Solo chant.
Yes, that they had to turn down the volume on the crowd mic for that.
It might add a little bit to it that he has so much heat that they're screaming FU and they have to turn down the mic. And yeah, it's one of those things where Solo's way over. And I like the entrance of the Bloodline coming from the back and then coming in to they have them kind of in gorilla and then walking in. This is Bloodline 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Just something like a little production thing I noticed. I like that they're trying different things, and I've liked that from gorilla into the stadium,
Yes, it looks good. I've noticed that for a few months as well. Sometimes it really does work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it worked here. I just one more thing to say about this. None of this works as well as it does if Solo Sikoa is not over as a heel. And how remarkable is it that he's the number 1 heel on SmackDown?
Yeah, it's great. And, he might be ahead of schedule. We talked about that before. Mm-hmm. We talked about how he's probably ahead of Roman and where he was at his age.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't need Heyman to rely on as a crutch like Roman did for so long. Yep. I mean, if you added Heyman into it, it would just make it that much better, because anything Heyman touches turns to gold. But yeah, great stuff from Solo so far. Anything else from
Bloodline bookend? I have nothing else for this. Perhaps it's time for the follow, and where do you want to go next, my friend?
Yeah, let's do it. So we can talk about the follow, and we have a couple of matches. We have some news about a new women's title, but maybe we could stick with the matches here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
What's match of the night for you? We're wrestling, guys. What's match of the night for you?
Well, I don't mean to go like this, but it was a little bit like this for the wrestling for me.
Okay.
I guess if I'm gonna have to probably pick one,
What was most impactful then?
I would say I kind of liked Bailey versus Candice LeRae. Maybe we can go there.
Okay. That was the first match of the night.
The first match of the night for me is going to be the one we could talk about. I haven't seen a lot of Candice LeRae. I liked some of the spots she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, during the entire match, it felt like it was just in that little tiny rectangle in the corner while all the adverts were playing. So there was a lot of that tonight, but I liked her like crab chokehold she kind of does. It's like a crab stand
Mm-hmm.
or like and then that's the way I put it, crab chokehold, because I don't know what to call it. But it's almost like a bridge rather. It's like a bridge chokehold, and not a bridge on your head like a back neck bridge, but a complete bridge back, and then she does the chokehold. I kind of like that. I've never seen it before. It's at least unique, and I like the finish with the fake injury. So Bailey goes over Candice LeRae somewhat predictably, right? So there was a fake injury at some point, and it looks like Candice LeRae is going to take advantage when she fakes a knee injury, and she goes to roll her up, and then Bailey reverses and rolls her up and pins her. So I like roll-up pins, and I like the finish. It was unique. So Candice LeRae, we don't see a lot of her. Indy Hartwell's out of the company now, so you never know when she was going to go next. But I think, she's made some good use of the limited time that she's been on SmackDown. How about you? What'd you think of this match?
I thought it was pretty good. Candice on the smaller side, but like you said, very active in there. Some interesting moves that she does, like that bridging chokehold. She does. Let's see. She does a top turnbuckle missile drop kick. It's well executed. Bailey sells it though and clotheslines her. Bailey does a great fireman's carry into a side slam for a 2 count. I thought Candice took that move really well. Bailey executed it well. Candice took it well. That was for a 2 count. And the fake knee injury, apparently this is something that Candice LeRae has done before. And Bailey had well scouted. Because after Bailey picks up the pinfall, she leaves the ring and she's jawing back at Candice LeRae in the ring saying, I've seen that before. I was ready for you. So yeah, Candice LeRae does my knee is hurt and gets the ref to, have Bailey back off. And so Bailey purposely turns her back. Candice LeRae, miraculously healed, springs up, charges at Bailey for the roll up, but Bailey's waiting for her, drops down, hooks the legs, and she has kind of that sit down pin on her. Yeah, it worked. This match went close to 10 minutes.
Yeah, Candice LeRae
9 minutes
is believable as the chicken crab heel, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the chicken heel has to be, they sometimes do it with big guys. Like Roman Reigns has basically done that a lot.
Yes.
But her, it makes sense. It's like something she has to do because she's so tiny. How is this tiny girl going to be believable winning? Oh, faking an injury and doing a roll up. Well, yeah, she could win there, right?
Yep. So I thought it worked. It was pretty neat. It also plays into a match we saw later because Candice LeRae has been trying to get on Nia Jax's good side, trying to have a little rivalry there with Tiffany Straton as to who gets to be the number 2 to Nia Jax's number 1 there on the SmackDown roster.
Maybe that could be the next match. It's a good lead.
Sure, there we go. It's Jade Cargill and Bianca Belar versus Nia Jax and Tiffany Straton. The tag titles are not on the line. This match goes about a good 10 minutes. They give them a lot of time in the ring. I enjoyed this match also because Jade opened the match for her team, spent a lot of time in there, did a lot of selling for Nia Jax. Nia was, sort of handling her pretty well in there. Jade did get a good reversal there of a suplex. Nia goes for the big vertical suplex. Jade, with the legs, gets the weight going back down and snap suplexes Nia over. So that looked great. And then they each crawled for hot tags and got them. Eventually, Bianca hits the kiss of death on Tiffany Straton, who was distracted for the pinfall here. And so it also sows a little bit of tension between those who are trying to get on Nia Jax's good side. There wound up being 6 people involved in this match.
Yeah.
Because Candice LeRae runs down to try to help Tiffany Straton, who doesn't appreciate it. And then Naomi runs down to beat up Candice LeRae.
Yeah, so Jay Cargill and Bianca go over. Kind of predictable, especially because they mentioned a title match on Monday night.
Yep.
Even though this was a non-title, but I guess
you wouldn't want them losing going into it, right?
Yeah. So you kind of figured they would end up winning. I do have some feedback about this one.
Yes, go for it.
A minus for commercials.
Okay.
I know they have to pay bills, but I got the full Monty of the entrances with both of the teams, and then suddenly the match starts and they hit the commercials, and I'm like, do the commercials during the entrances, which they started doing more of at one point. Something was a little off because they did the commercials and it didn't even have the split screen, and I missed so much of Jade, and I'm like, man, I've been wanting to see her and let her, cut loose, and I saw she's in there, but I didn't see any of it because it was at a commercial break, Yeah,
and you come back now. Jade got some good TV time, but yeah, it's as a TV viewer, I'd rather see the match than the entrances.
Yeah.
I
know what the entrance music sounds like. The entrances are literally the same each time. They do the poses, and then they walk, and they do and they do their pose, and they do this. It's like, okay. So
that could be canned. That could just be on recording.
It really could be. It could be recorded because it never changes, right?
No.
But yeah, so anyways, I loved one spot. So the second that Tiffany Straton went in with Bianca, I was like, whoa, this needs to be a match, first of all. Bianca versus Tiffany Straton.
Yep.
Because they were really good together. And there was the 10 punches, my favorite, Bianca did. But Tiffany Straton blocks the 10 punches as they're happening. So she puts her hands up, she's blocking them, which nobody ever blocks them for some reason. It was actually pretty creative. So then she loops under and then yanks Bianca down by her ponytail. And, that's the really unique spot you could do with Bianca. She takes the ponytail yank, which I don't know how that doesn't hurt. I don't know if it's a wig or it looks bad, right?
It looks like it would hurt, yes.
Yeah, it looks like getting your hair yanked down would be painful. But
Pete Dunne with the finger manipulation and Bianca getting her enormous ponytail of hair pulled.
Yeah, that getting your hair pulled looks way worse than a triple moonsault or whatever off the top rope.
One great double team move I want to point out here. Tiffany off the turnbuckles hits a blockbuster on Bianca as Nia Samoan drops Bianca. What a great they look like a tag team.
Yeah.
What a great move. Tiffany covered. Jade breaks up the pinfall just at the last moment. I just a lot of good chemistry in this. They're all improving with each other. This was a match with 4 top stars on the women's division. That they looked a little. Each of them looked a little like an actual tag team was even better. But like you were sort of alluding to, Tiffany Straton versus Bianca Belair, you want to see that. Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill. At some point, you want to see that.
Yeah.
Nia Bianca, you could see. Tiffany Straton, Jade Cargill, you could see. These are 4 top singles wrestlers who, just for the time being, they've got them in tag teams. They've got them in quasi factions, mini factions. I think it works. I thought this was an entertaining match. This for me, I'll go ahead and call it. This was match of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're probably right there.
Even though there was a lot of commercial, we only got about 6 minutes of TV time for the match. I thought this was probably match of the night. I thought it was really entertaining. A lot of extracurricular activity, which was okay. Like it worked. You know, Schmaz on the floor, and finally Bianca gets Tiffany Straton one-on-one in the ring, a distracted Tiffany Straton, and puts her away for the finish. Looked good.
Yeah, so maybe we can move on to the next match here. So we have the Motor City Machine Guns, the tag team champs, versus A-Town Down Under.
Yes.
Motor City Machine Guns go over as A-Town Down Under continue to be the jobbers.
Yes.
What did you think of this one, Dom?
Fast pace. I like that they're having the Motor City Machine Guns. I mean, okay, yeah, they put the belt on them very quickly, but they're having them wrestle the other pretty good tag teams on SmackDown, and I think it's working. Yes, they've been kind of comedy jobbers for a while, but Grayson Waller and Austin Theory looked the part in this one. I thought they looked good. They looked like they belonged in there. They're very crisp and fast. In order for Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin's moves to look their best, as fast as they are, as precise as they are, the people they're in there with have to be fast and quick as well.
Yeah.
You can't do a bunch of quick moving sequences with guys who are slow. So I think just being in a match, in this match turning out as well as it does, speaks well of Waller and Theory.
For sure.
Yes, they lose on the Skull and Bones, but like, go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in there. Motor City Machine Guns hit the Skull and Bones for the pinfall. It's on Grayson Waller.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but they don't seem like guys that could wrestle a mop and win, right? Or wrestle a broom and win and have a good match. Whereas, like, they have to have that fast pacing style, and A-Town Down definitely hung in there and did their thing.
Some good spots by Waller and Theory as well. Sabin's got a pinfall, but it's one of those standing stack ups. So Waller jumps into the ring, rolls, and hits a flatliner on Sabin to break up the pinfall, allowing Austin Theory to cover and get a 2 count. There was another double team on Theory early where Theory kicked out. I mean, that could have been the finish, but this big double team move, Theory kicks out. So it's not like they were, they didn't, squash Grayson Waller and Austin Theory here the way another tag team got squashed in this show.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have anything more to say about this one, or do you want to go to that last match where there was just an absolute squash?
Yeah. I thought there was a cool drop kick by Sabian. Throughout the whole thing, it's very fast moving, it's fast paced. It's a little unique, their style, from what you see in WWE. So there's at least that going for them. And hey, they've had a couple matches. You're starting to learn who they are. I didn't know who they were before this, but
do you think the crowd's behind them?
A little bit.
Okay.
Not like crazy. Not
so
LA.
Getting a babyface push. They got the belts, and they're being positioned sort of as baby faces. That you're supposed to like these guys.
Americans love guns, Dom, and them out there firing the guns seems to be a good idea. A little throwback to Black Horse firing the guns. Bang.
There
bang.
you go. Yes, bang bang. The 6 shooters. Ha! Very good. NJCW days.
They're doing
the Motor City Machine Guns.
They do machine guns. I was doing handguns. So
yes, of course. The cowboy way.
They stole that from me, I believe.
They did, absolutely. They were watching NJCW all those years ago. Yes. The Motor City Machine Guns. Yeah. Americans love guns. Perhaps they could come out with a plate of bacon next.
Right. They just come out with guns and bacon. Oh, man.
Just enormous coffees. Just, like, hey, these guys are baby faces. Come on. Do you get the symbolism or not?
Right. So we have enormous copies. We have a DIY versus Pretty Deadly is the last match here that we're going to talk about. And as mentioned, DIY goes over Pretty Deadly in a squash.
Yep.
Anything from this match that you want to talk about, because it was very quick.
Yes, it goes about a minute and a half. They're playing up. The Tommaso Ciampa is getting extremely aggressive. He doesn't like the way that the Motor City Machine Guns and other people have taken their spot up the tag team rankings. He's annoyed that Johnny Gargano doesn't seem to be as intense as him. They have a backstage little dust up that involves another team as well, the Motor City Machine Guns, for instance. So in this match, Ciampa starts it and never tags in Johnny Gargano. He beats up both Elton Prince and Kit Wilson on the outside, throws Elton Prince back in, after throwing him into the ring steps twice. Now they're both back in the ring. He hits a double underhook sit-out face planter, gets the pinfall. Elton Prince and Kit Wilson, pretty deadly. They are squashing this in a minute and a half. Johnny Gargano never tags into the match. At the end, he looks a little confused. And for a while, he looks a little concerned that his tag team partner is not only very aggressive, but almost getting counted out. Like he's doing so much stuff on the outside with the ring posts, the ring steps, the announce table. So you wonder if there's going to be a breakup here of DIY. Apparently, these two had a great feud one-on-one when they were each in NXT, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. So I don't know if that's down the road to bring that rivalry to the main roster and see if it plays well for the main roster audience. But they've been a great tag team. They've been tag team champs. Now there's a little friction. What did you think of this and of the turning of some of the characters here? There's not been a total heel turn by Ciampa yet, but they're trying to bring out a different side of his personality. Well, what did you think of the match and what they're trying to do with Ciampa here in Gargano?
I think Triple H definitely has his favorites, and he used to book NXT, so he's giving them a lot of chances. Ciampa and Gargano, when they were kind of thrown to the wolves before, like they were kind of out of the picture when Vince was there. I don't think Vince got them. They brought him up and then they just kind of sent them back down to NXT, or they just jobbed them out. So I think Triple H thinks highly of both of them and is trying to give them the opportunity to have that feud they had at NXT. I know that it was over in NXT at the time, but I don't really remember it. I didn't really watch NXT. I never have watched NXT. So
me neither. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I know that like just watching like bits and pieces of highlights, it was a bit over in the developmental thing. So maybe and looking at Pretty Deadly in the Vince era, they feel like Vince guys. And ever since they've had their like wrestling, ever since they've had their Vince has been gone, it feels like they've like not gotten a chance to shine. Although I think highly of them. I probably would rather see like a Pretty Deadly program than a DIY program, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because I think Pretty Deadly makes a lot of stuff work, and I think they're actually good wrestlers too.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on the main roster in the tag team division now is a bad wrestler. I think they're all people who can go in the ring. I think they all deliver. It just becomes a matter of what kind of personality you're given to work with, and what does creative have in mind for you.
Yeah, so it's just a squash, but it's going to build to DIY breaking up, and then it'd be cool to see a rivalry between those two, and it'd be great to just see two guys that were kind of at the bottom of the card have something interesting, and if they can have a good match, then hey, I'm rooting for it for sure.
Yep, very good. You mentioned before that Nick Aldis unveiled the new Women's United States Championship during the show. Good ideas. Is this because the women's division is so loaded with talent that perhaps it's time to have an extra belt in there?
Yeah. I thought this was interesting because I think they have a good number of belts in the WWE, almost perfect, where you don't have too many, but all of them seem meaningful and have a lot of impact, and they have a lot of impact. We have talked, though, at great lengths about you can make a real strong argument that the best division in wrestling is the WWE women's division.
Yep.
They're really stacked there. It's to a point when you bring a star like Jade in, and I'm like, does she even fit? And it might be, it's almost less on Jade and more on that the division is so good. So yeah, U.S. champ. Interesting that they're bringing that into the fray, and it could work. They have a lot of talent. Now, I'm always a big fan of not having less belts for sure, and making them mean something. So I don't know if a third belt is going to add a certain element of like, you know, at the end of the day, they do have two big belts. They have the Raw and the SmackDown. They have two big belts, and this one is clearly going to be the bottom belt. Now, is it going to be like D'Lo Brown when he had it in the night? Is D'Lo Brown like this WWE Hall of Famer? He always had the European title. They always seemed to have that belt.
Okay.
And that belt seemed to not mean too much.
The United States Championship back in the NWA days and carried through to WCW, that was almost for the guy who was on his way to a world title. The guys that held the U.S. title were guys who eventually became world champs. A lot of them were. That was really a stepping stone. It was climb the mountain kind of thing. Are they running out of TV time? Does SmackDown have to be 3 hours and Raw have to be 3 hours if they're going to have now even a second-tier women's belt because the women's divisions are so stacked, and they're bringing back real tag team wrestling and making those belts mean something again? Are they running out of airtime for all of the things that they want to showcase? Do we have to get, they're still trying to keep the premium live events down to 3 hours instead of 4. So are they running out of TV time?
Yeah, I mean, they might be if they're adding a belt because they're like, what else are we going to do here for this third hour on SmackDown? Okay, maybe that belt gets defended a lot on SmackDown because they have the third hour. That's going to be brutal when we go to 3 hours over 2. 2 is so good. 3 is going to be... It's just that one extra hour is just it's always been unnecessary, but they're going to have to do it.
Seth Rollins has said the same. He's like, sometimes that third hour, you just wind up dragging out what could have been 2 hours of great content into 3 hours of pretty good content.
You can see it's consistent too with SmackDown. The 2 hour show is good, and they sometimes have to cut stuff, and they cut the match short, and you're like, all right, well, they got everything they need to get in, and this one had to be shorter. I'd rather it be that than, let's drag it out for these.
Than stuff dragging, yeah.
Oh, we're going to have talk shows and, what are we going to have to do to fill the third hour?
The Grayson Waller effect. It's coming back.
Oh, my. Yeah, we're going to have, like, instead of the, how many Bloodline segments? We're going to have, like, a third Bloodline segment at the 10 o'clock and then the 11 o'clock?
Sure, they have to come out in the middle of the show just to remind everybody, hey, we're going to be back at the end.
I'll tell you what, Dom, we might be switching to Raw if it goes to 3 hours. I don't know. We'll have to see.
One more thing, big thing that happened on this card that maybe the thing that's talked about the most, at least on social media, that's what Michael Cole was trying to tell people was, Randy Orton gets taken to the hospital in an ambulance, and Cody Rhodes rides with him after an attack by Kevin Owens. Orton in the ring calls out Kevin Owens. They brawl with officials trying to keep them separated. Kevin Owens eventually pile drives Randy Orton and leaves through the crowd because apparently heels can do that. We've talked about this is not the Jim Cornette era. Heels leave through the crowd and are not stabbed. While Randy leaves on a stretcher, Randy really sells this as a huge neck injury. He's had, I think, a real life neck injury that he came back from recently. It was maybe his most recent time off was for a real life neck injury. So they're really selling the heck out of this. Kevin Owens, really good job of going from babyface to heel. Like not a lot of guys can flip that switch. Kevin Owens seems to have flipped the switch. He was a beloved babyface, and it took a few weeks, and Kevin Owens is now this very dark character.
I like the T-shirt. Kevin was right. He had on.
Yeah, right.
I was like, yeah, he switched up his T-shirt a little bit, and he always wears the black. So how is going to be like a heel? Okay, Kevin was right. Makes sense. Yeah.
Kevin was right, and he's brutal to people, and he's getting some of that heel reaction. It's a great job. They used to say, especially towards the end of the WCW run, that Rick Steiner, for whatever reason, was able to flip that switch. He could be a baby face and then just come out, because he had such an aggressive style that if you wanted him to be a heel, it was like flip the switch and now he's a heel.
He just has to act like a Steiner. He has to act like his brother.
Yeah, just do it. And there are some guys who can flip that switch, and Kevin Owens seems to be able to do that. So kudos to Kevin Owens for doing it. It also tells us that Randy Orton, Kevin Owens is not over. We can expect more stuff. This neck injury angle allows them to maybe push it either to the Saturday night's main event, December 14th, or even towards the New Year special editions of SmackDown, first of the year, or maybe even towards Royal Rumble, where it's one of the matches on the card that is not the Royal Rumble 30-man and 30-woman elimination matches. So doing an injury angle not only feeds into Kevin Owens being a heel, but it allows them a reason to slow play the rest of this feud and not have to force feed them to us every SmackDown and every premium live event.
Yeah, it was great. Or I should say, I really like the pile driver, because I saw it and I was like, I haven't seen that in. And I'm like, oh, they don't do it in WWE. They don't do the pile driver. And they're like, oh, it's an illegal maneuver. It's outlawed. Yep. That's why it's outlawed. So it wasn't just like a bunch of blade jobs and weapons. It's like, oh no, the pile driver.
Yep.
I'm glad they got a move that's banned and notably banned, and then he did it.
Yes.
And it is a nasty move if you think about it.
Yes.
So I like that aspect of it. Anything else from the show, Dom?
No, I think we covered it. I think we got 4 matches, a bookend bloodline talking segments, but also with some physicality. And we got a new belt unveiled. They're doing enough stuff backstage to build the feuds that don't always get airtime in the ring in front of the crowd, like with the men's tag team division. They're building that well. I think it's like you said, a SmackDown is the right amount of TV for what they're doing at the moment. It's fast paced, and you'd rather see them have a stacked show that's where everybody's hustling rather than a show that seems like it drags. And maybe that's our little tease for the next segment that you and I do. Is it drive time, John?
Dom, it is drive time. It's the thumb drive. What do you think?
Yes, it's the thumb drive, right? This is when you and I distill this entire show that we just watched into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties. There are also no star ratings, no letter ratings, no number grades. You're taking this course, pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. No. We are certainly not Dave Meltzer. We don't give out star ratings. We don't give 7 stars in a Tokyo Dome. We don't give 2 stars on Sunday Night Heat in Minneapolis, Minnesota. No. We don't do star ratings. We give a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. Was the show acceptable or was it bad?
Mm-hmm.
So ready. Dom, are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, differing opinions here.
Okay, it's always more fun to do bad news first. What say you? Why the thumb down?
Boy, outside of the Bloodline segment, it was a real clunker for me. I thought the matches were bad or okay to bad. I mean, I guess the Candice LeRae one, Bayley one was okay. Maybe it's something with the feed, but I got so many commercials during the matches too. I mean, so many. They did picture-in-picture for like a majority of some of the matches, and I don't mind like the picture-in-picture when they hop out, but it'd be like the entire match between Candice LeRae and Bayley was picture-in-picture. So I am not a big fan of how many commercials I got, and just I didn't see a lot of wrestling, and whenever I did see it, it was like a squash or it was just okay. So yeah, thumbs down. Not very good SmackDown. It's just Sami Zayn's part of the bloodline.
Right. So, yeah, perhaps it was too stacked with TV, and they've got a lot of advertisers jumping on the bandwagon there at USA, and they've got some decisions to make. It's like, how much of this cuts into our TV product for viewers?
Yeah, and I usually go thumbs up for SmackDown. I don't give it a thumbs down unless I think it's bad. If I think it's a tie, I give it tie goes to the runner. I give it thumbs up. This one was stunk to me.
I will echo you as far as there did seem to be a lot of commercial time, not a lot of airtime. But what I saw, I thought was entertaining. Even the squash match, it made sense why they squashed them. Although I hope that doesn't bode poorly for Pretty Deadly, because I like them the way you do. But even that match, I understand why they had Tommaso Ciampa just be extremely angry at everybody and just tear through these guys who, they're quasi comedy guys, and just tear through them. So I get it. I get it. No LA Knight on the program, no Cody Rhodes on the program, but it worked. I thought it worked well enough that I gave it a thumbs up. I thought the Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax, Tiffany Straton match, I was a little higher on that than you were.
Yeah, I wish I saw more of Jade.
I've
been wanting to see her, and I've been rooting for her too. So
yeah, it was like only 6 minutes of match time outside of the commercials or so, about 5-6 minutes. So it wasn't a ton to see, but I like you said, tie goes to the runner for us a lot, and I saw enough on this program that I was like, okay, yeah. Maybe it's just because, sometimes you've said the main event can save it. I think maybe the fact that we've been waiting for the band to get back together.
yeah,
And they finally did that a little here. Maybe I just, as I was finishing up the show, I said, all right, yeah, left a good taste in the mouth at the end there.
it was a good main. That would have been fine if there was like a good match in there, but I just never got the good match. So, all right,
I understand your thumbs down though. I do.
Yeah,
the shows where it seems like it's being taken over by advertisers and stuff can be a little rushed. I can see why that would be like, why am I watching?
But we're a little different than most YouTube channels, most people in the IWC, the Internet Wrestling community, because we don't go for cheap pops where we just say, is AEW dying? on all of our thumbnails and all of our shows. But we don't do cheap pops. But we are a little cheap sometimes.
We do go for the cheap heat there, right? It's no matter what the season, no matter what the temperature, it's always cheap and it's always hot when we get to this portion of Don't Bury the Lead, right? This is the cheap heat section here. We're going to go through stories from around the wrestling world because as much as we enjoy watching SmackDown and recapping it, we both realize that major professional wrestling is bigger than the one show we watch. It's also bigger than this one promotion. There's a lot of great stuff happening out there, and we're going to get to some of it. Tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments. What do you think of our takes so far on the SmackDown show, and what do you think of what we're talking about here on Cheap Heat? Are these stories you're interested in? Do you like our analysis of them? Is there anything we missed? Is there anything where you disagree with us about or agree with us about? Let us know your feedback. We do enjoy hearing from you. We read the comments. We sometimes learn from them. I've had people tell me, in the comments before of a video where I said I didn't know a guy, people would tell me, go look up some of these matches. And I looked them up, and I was like, yes, thank you. I enjoyed that. So without further ado there, it's time for some Cheap Heat. Who's on the screen there? What do you think? What do you say?
Yeah, this is Cheap Heat, and we are kind of, this is essentially where we'll take a break here and talk about trending topics in the wrestling world. This is really how we developed our YouTube channel, YouTube, we have 897 subscribers. We're trying to get to 900. We're 3 away. So if you're watching us on YouTube now, we have a couple people tuned in. Click the subscribe button. It's literally free, and it helps out our small channel so much. If you see small channels, you subscribe to them. It means the world. So go ahead and subscribe. And without further ado, Dom, maybe I'll kick it to you. What are we looking at for the beginning of Cheap Heat here?
This is from comingsoon.net. There's a Triple H on one side and Logan Paul back when he was U.S. champ on the other side. Logan Paul reveals an exciting idea he pitched to Triple H. It's basically him and Dominic Mysterio as the two most hated heels in the company forming a tag team. What would you think of that kind of thing? What do you think? Logan Paul wants to team up with Dominic Mysterio. Our best short edited clip of all time on our channel is Dominic Mysterio on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast, where they're basically both heels. I mean, that was the first time I've ever seen somebody who's already a heel, Dominic Mysterio, turn heel.
Yes.
On another heel.
I don't.
Like, how is that possible? But it happened, and they had a little bit of chemistry there. Individually, they're each great heels. What would you think of the two of them together? Is it overkill, or do you want to see it?
I don't blame Logan Paul for pitching this, and I'm sure everyone is knocking on Triple H's door saying, please let me work with Dom. Please let me work with Dom. Dom is so over right now. It's unbelievable. Yes. He doesn't even have to wrestle, and people freak out.
Yep.
He's out there a lot. It's not like he's out there consistently, weekly even. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's hiding away. So he's just so over. They all want to work with him. I don't blame them either. So I don't blame Logan Paul for being like, hey, let me work with them. It could go one of two ways, where I don't know if there would be any opportunity for them to turn on each other, because Logan Paul will never be a face. So without that dynamic, it's just like two heels working together well, or it's going to make them both goofuses. I don't know. Where Logan Paul's definitely not been a doofus. He's been going over and beating people a lot and wrestling big matches. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they can make it work, and they did seem to have a lot of chemistry in that clip. Thank you, Logan Paul and Dom Mysterio, for catapulting our channel into over 40,000 views. So I got nothing but love for both of them. How about you, Dom?
I think there's a problem with this tag team in the sense that Logan Paul barely works, and Dominic Mysterio, as you said, we've called Rey Mysterio the hardest working retired man in wrestling. Dominic Mysterio has some of that work ethic in him, that family work ethic. Mm-hmm. He's out there all the time, all over the place. Premium live events, house shows, Raw more than once a night if they need him. Comes over to SmackDown when they need him. He's all over the place. Logan Paul would have to work that kind of schedule, which means he wouldn't be able to do Impulsive, his podcast. He wouldn't be able to just be in his brother's entourage at boxing matches. He wouldn't be able to do all these other things he's involved in. So careful what you wish for there, Logan Paul.
He wouldn't be able to grift little kids out of cryptocurrency.
No,
he wouldn't be able to start his what seems to be failed Lunchables knockoff. He wouldn't be able to do those things that he loves so dearly, which is stealing money from children. So I don't know how he would even live with himself if he had to go and just go do what he would be good at what he's been good at naturally, which is pro wrestling.
Which is as a great natural athlete.
Yeah.
If you ask to be paired with the hardest working guy in the company or one of the hardest working guys in the company, you are asking to be one of the hardest working guys in the company yourself.
Yeah, so exactly.
Be careful what you wish for, Logan Paul. Kenny Omega, speaking of wishing for, we've been hoping, wishing that Kenny Omega could recover from his injuries. He has something called diverticulitis, which is sort of your core, your digestive tract injury, real life illness, not like he sprained something in the wrestling ring. We've been hoping he could recover from it. This comes to us from WrestleZone. He was on the NJPW, New Japan Pro Wrestling Power Struggle. He did not wrestle yet, but he expressed interest in competing at NJPW by AEW Wrestle Dynasty. He then got into a backstage altercation with Gabe Kidd, where he started making it, he's unprofessional like that guy, which is a CM Punk reference. Technically, this was not an AEW event, but Kenny Omega is known as an AEW guy. He's referencing an AEW incident. Does AEW really need to keep bringing up this? You watch AEW, John. Is this necessary?
No, it doesn't do anything for them at all. And it's so annoying as an AEW fan. It's so petty and stupid. And it's so petty and stupid that even Punk, who is the most petty, stupid person I know, seems to have moved on. So he seems to have moved on with his life. He's done with the AEW back and forth, and just for Kenny to bring it up like that, and he's supposed to be a face for AEW, and he's still complaining about this. It's so stupid. The only person that's made out of this whole thing is Jack Perry, who's correctly kind of added it to his gimmick, and then hasn't really relied on CM Punk references too often, except for the real glass, which was brilliant when he did the real glass, and just the grin at the screen when he put the real glass down. That was enough, and that was the only reference he really needed. And the Bucks have been doing it like crazy, and it's so stupid. And I was hoping Kenny was done with it. It's been 3 years or 2 years, over 2 years since Brawl Out, so it's just not necessary.
I won't say his name, but I thought Gabe was unfit to be professional, just like that guy.
So
it's an angle, but they don't need to go here with the angle, right?
Please, it needs to stop. Please stop it.
On the other hand, are you pleased at Kenny Omega? It looks like being able to get back into the ring.
Yeah, for sure.
Soon.
It's interesting that they're hoping he does AEW Dynasty, and that'll be his comeback. They really miss him on that roster too. So.
Okay. You've been pretty high on a lot of the guys who've had belts lately. Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe. It's now back on Jon Moxley, and we both thought that he was doing a pretty good program so far, trying to turn AEW back into business.
They have tons of heels in their roster, AEW, and it's too heel heavy. So you got Jon Moxley, who's the big heel, and they've got guys going out there like Orange Cassidy, which he can't be their champ. He's a good face. And you kind of see how weak their roster is when they have all the faces out there. It's a little bit like NWO and WCW at a certain point, where WCW didn't have a lot of good guys. So they need Kenny back for sure as a babyface.
They need some balance. Okay, so they need Kenny back, and they need him to be a real babyface, and this may not be the real babyface thing to do.
Exactly.
All right, very good. Just so you know, we're not crapping on AEW. All Elite Wrestling, this comes to us from sportsvideo.org. They're apparently upping their production. This seems like a great idea. So because of the deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, Tony Khan is investing it right back into the product. Includes a new live media group, IP-based mobile facilities, the first North American-based truck-to-house. They're getting into some of the technical jargon here, but extra production stuff to make their live shows, including pay-per-views, even better than they are. So this is great news for AEW. Tony Khan is serious about putting out a product.
For sure.
And he's serious about putting out a television product as well. He likes the arena shows, the live shows, the house shows, but he wants to put out a better television product. this has to look good. They get this big deal and they don't just say, okay, that goes into my pocket. This is going back into the product, and if you want to, even say it like they put this stuff back into the product, this means they're going to have to create some pretty good paying jobs here for guys who could run this technical equipment.
Yeah, it's really positive news that they're continuing to try to develop themselves, and even if they could somehow corner a market where there is like this like for live entertainment, right? There's a big demand for live entertainment in general, and pushing it out to some sort of stream. And no, it's no longer cable, right? It's going to be YouTube or one of the streaming services.
Yep. It's cable plus.
Yeah, and there's a big demand for live things, so it's a good idea from that standpoint. And it also, I think it speaks to Tony Khan has been a very good promoter and businessman. I know a lot of people just say, "Oh, he's a rich guy and his dad's a billionaire and he's taking daddy's money and this and that." He's running a profitable company and he's taking down, or he's at least competing or becoming a number 2 with a huge company like WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done things that I get it. He has like a big nest egg to play with, but I think he's been a very good running a tight business. And it's such a good idea to, instead of just sit on the profits and just sit on the money, invest it right back into the business to try to develop the product out. I think it's a great idea.
Mike Mansberry, Executive Vice President, Head of Global Production for AEW. The idea was getting more IP based with everything that we are doing. So it's like you were saying, it's cable plus streaming plus internet plus mobile plus all of that stuff. How can we get AEW to be more towards the cutting edge? That's always the challenge with our line of work. And like you were mentioning, live entertainment. We're not quite sport. We're not quite entertainment. We're a lovely hybrid. How do we take our form of content and intertwine technology into it that leaves us at the cutting edge and allows us to be trendsetters as opposed to followers? They now have 16 touring production trucks. It's a big operation.
Mm-hmm.
Big operation, and they seem like they want to be ready for all forms of media that are popular these days. So great job by AEW. This I think is good news. This is behind the scenes stuff, but it's the kind of behind the scenes stuff that you could see hints of on the live product and in it getting better. So you're an AEW fan. You like it. I don't even watch a lot of AEW, but whenever I see a company that seems to be strong and seems to be investing in itself, I think that's a great idea too.
For sure.
Natalya, we like Natalya. That's not a picture of Natalya. But
No.
Natalya is, speaking of behind the scenes, she is so good at working with other wrestlers. We've seen clips of her training with Jade Cargill. We've seen clips of her training with anyone else who just needs a little extra work in the dungeon. Apparently now she has been doing extra training with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan also paired with Dominic Mysterio here, the current WWE Women's World Champion over on the Raw brand. She's been excellent, and we've noted that maybe she's not one of these big monsters like Rhea Ripley or Nia Jax, but she moves well enough in that ring where she's believable and she's entertaining as an athlete. And apparently, Natalya has been doing that, has been working with her. Liv had a great work ethic. Natalya said she worked hard when nobody was watching. And this include a lot of going to the dungeon, training with the Heart Dungeon while readying for her comeback from injury in 2023. So Liv Morgan did not just rest on her laurels waiting for creative to have something for her to do. When she had a legit injury, she really rehabbed for this. And I think it's great that the WWE has people like Natalya in the fold, in the company, who, if you need her to go out and wrestle a match, that's fine. She'll do it and she'll be fine. She'll look good out there. She'll make other people look good. But she's also just great to have in your company for things like this, to help other people recover from injuries or just get better at what they're doing. we like Natalya, right? Even though we don't see her a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. Natalya is a don't bury the lead original favorite. Anytime she's such a good worker and she's so solid all around and does a lot of the dirty work of getting pinned and jobbing, but she's been a champ. She's done everything there is to do, and she goes in there and is a very trusty veteran in the ring and obviously well liked backstage. You don't work for a company for like as long as she has, like 15 plus years or whatever, and still remain there.
You said the key word, trusted veteran, like trust. You're not going to send somebody to rehab to work with Natalya if you don't trust that Natalya knows what she's doing.
She's always been really technically sound, which is that dungeon style, if you will.
Yep. The dungeon, going back to the Stu Hart days.
Mm-hmm.
Training all of the Hart brothers. And then, Natalya also getting in there. So excellent work. This comes to us from WrestleZone for the transcription. Natalya, it's great to have people on staff who will work to get their fellow colleagues better at this stuff. Great news all around. Speaking of people coming to the WWE who are injured and rehabbing injuries, Lance Anoa'i, a member of the Anoa'i Maivia wrestling family, has apparently been signed with the WWE for months, but is rehabbing an injury. I wonder if there were plans for him to be part of War Games, or at least part of Bloodline 2.0. This is Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful bringing this to us from his X account. You wonder what's going on. I thought when both of the Tamatanga and Tangaloa, sons of, I believe, Haku, showed up in the WWE, that was a big surprise. Jacob Fatu showing up was also a big surprise. Apparently, there are more in the works that could join whenever. Lance Anoa'i, one of them. You wonder what it is he's rehabbing from and why it's taken so long, with the bloodline being as hot as it is. If he were ready to go, I'm leaning towards they would have worked him into the program by now, because as Tamatanga, Tangaloa, and Jacob Fatu have shown, and Solo Sikoa as well, you don't have to be on the WWE main roster 5 years, 10 years for people to know you and respond to you. You can be on the main roster less than 2 years in the case of Solo Sikoa before you get a big push and just crush it. You can be on the main roster just a few weeks, like the Tongas and Jacob Fatu, and have an impact and be over with the crowd. So whenever he's ready, I hope he rehabs whatever it is and that he can get back there and wrestle again and can join us. So whenever that happens, great news for Lance Anoa'i. Other folks from WWE with taking some personal time off just behind the scenes, guys. This comes to us from WrestleZone. It's Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes. They're on temporary leave from WWE. They are important to creative. Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes are very important to the storylines, to working with the wrestlers on their personalities, on their characters. Michael P.S. Hayes, of course, he is a former wrestler, former champion in the NWA and WCW. He can work with guys on some of their finer points of wrestling and their finishes, match finishes, booking, those kind of things. This comes to us from WrestleZone, transcribing Dave Meltzer at the Wrestling Observer. Pritchard's absence is a family emergency. Personal issues are also the reasons for Hayes' absence. There's no connection between the two of them, like one person's issues are not related to the others. It's also not a sign of the old guard being moved out. They are expected both to return. These are important members of the team, even though we don't see them on TV. So all best to each of them and whatever they're dealing with. And I hope they can get back to doing the jobs that they enjoy. Especially since they seem to be very good at their jobs.
Yeah, for sure. They're both legends. And at the end of the day, it's got to be tough to be getting up there in that age bracket Well, even for any age, to be on the road and traveling and actively involved with WWE as much as you are, just to have a week off is noticeable, right? And most people just get like a week or two off, but it never shuts down, right? There's no vacation. It's all year round.
Yeah, pro wrestling has no off season, as they've said. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, impressive. So thank you, WrestleZone, for that. And one more injury update. It's Steph DeLander, previously of WWE, currently of TNA. She's undergoing neck surgery. We talked about neck surgery being a big deal. It was a problem for Sting, Steve Borden. It was a problem for Randy Orton. Back and spine injuries also been somewhat of a problem for Seth Rollins. This is serious stuff. And in fact, WWE, we just talked about tonight, they're working it into a storyline of Randy Orton's neck being targeted by Kevin Owens with the pile driver.
Yeah.
But neck injuries are a big deal here. Do you remember anything about Steph DeLander from her WWE run or from the TNA run? I admit I do not know much about her.
I don't know who that is, but I don't. What did she wrestle with Steph DeLander in WWE as well, I guess?
I'm not sure. And they're also mentioning Matt Cardona also had some neck problems for a while. So a lot of people, they also allowed her to, I guess, talk about it. And make it part of at least public knowledge. If it's not a storyline, at least public knowledge that it's happening. TNA has also been willing to work with her on it. It really is a new era in pro wrestling where if people get legitimately injured, they're not just thrown to the side, the curb there.
Oh, she's young. She's only 27. So
yeah, obviously neck injuries can be very dangerous, but luckily mine's kind of a preventative look. You've got this niggling neck issue. Let's get it taken care of while we can, while you recover, come back from it, be 100%.
Oh, you know what?
So
she was never up in the main roster. She's always in NXT.
She was an NXT star and then moved over to TNA. So she's targeting maybe March or April. So good for her. Good for wrestlers, especially you mentioned her being 27. She's got a long career ahead of her if she wants to stick with it. So all best to her recovering from her neck surgery. Time to go to wrestling people outside of wrestling. From Politico, it looks like Linda McMahon, former CEO of WWE, Titan Sports, is going to be on President-elect Trump's transition team. She had previously worked with Donald Trump in charge of the Small Business Administration, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's it.
During Trump's first term. Donald Trump also has been involved in WWE on screen as a character. He's in the WWE Hall of Fame, and he's attracted some perhaps unintentionally funny wrestling cameos by people like Hulk Hogan during the... Find us on YouTube. Don't bury the lead. Go check out our archive of stuff. We have some Hulk Hogan pro wrestling getting into politics stuff that it was funny. It was funny. The only time we mention this stuff is if we can get a good laugh at it.
Yes, this is completely stuff we don't bother with politics, but because it's so big this week and I saw Linda McMahon, all I could say was, man, you just can't keep the McMahons down, can you?
No, we talked about last week that Vince McMahon might want to start a new entertainment company, and Linda McMahon, I mean, she's been an executive at a big business. She might be back with her old working contact, Donald Trump. Who knows? I don't know much about this Howard Lutnick person.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Okay, they say longtime CEO and financial services firm Cantor Fitzgerald. I don't know much about him, but of course I know more about Linda McMahon from her time in WWE. Served as the head of the Small Business Administration from 2017 to 19. Remained an important player in his orbit, Trump's orbit, since leaving government. She previously had run for the U.S. Senate twice in Connecticut. Both times were unsuccessful. So she's kind of dabbled in politics, in government, and to the extent that all big corporations are kind of government connected anyway, you dabble in it at that level. Yeah, former WWE people in the news for non-wrestling stuff. Just
Well,
kind of a bit of just factual reporting here. Not much to say about it. Any interesting insights you have to offer, John?
yeah, the only thing I had was, you can't keep the McMahons down, even after the Vince McMahon documentary,
Right.
where they were just taking him down piece by piece in great detail on Netflix. Everyone saw it. People that don't watch wrestling were talking about it, and they saw it. And to think, and then suddenly, and you think, okay, well, Vince is done, and I imagine Linda's also done. But wait, she's back. I think she's too respected. I do get a level of when she was the small business administrator, bipartisan. She was liked by Democrats and Republicans. People just seem to like Linda a lot.
Okay.
So it does make sense that she would be part of like Trump's team because she was a successful person in the past and has been loyal to him forever.
Yeah. The McMahons,
The
they're
McMahons
always
and
there.
the McMahons and the Trumps are have been friendly for a very long time.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Early WrestleManias, not 1 or 2, but I think 3 and 4. At least 2 of them took place at Trump Casino in Atlantic City
Mhm.
back before they would do the big stadium shows. So yes, it was. It's been a good working relationship on and off for several decades. Linda McMahon, back in your home as Vince McMahon was. Kind of funny though. Vince McMahon comes back. His last order of business is to negotiate the big Netflix deal, and then Netflix like craps all over him.
Right. That is such a great observation. I didn't even think about that. They're like, oh man, the Netflix deal that Vince put together. Now that he's out of here, let's really rip him in this documentary.
Yep.
Because there's going to be a total fluff piece. It was when they were doing it when he was there, and then suddenly it all turned once they got rid of him. They're like, oh, we can really add in the other stuff.
Now that we don't have to kiss up to you.
Oh, Meltzer was all over him. Trying to think. Who is Mr. like he's an old wrestler, African American fellow, bodybuilder.
Tony Atlas.
Tony Atlas was on it, and he was really giving it to McMahon the whole time.
Okay.
Or just being really honest with everything. He'd say, oh yeah, we treat the women like shit. He'd say that, just deadpan,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So he really he was excellent in the documentary. By
Hey,
being very honest.
Vince McMahon craps on an intern. Netflix craps on Vince McMahon.
Right. That's fair. That's very fair.
More wrestling stuff outside of the wrestling ring. This comes to us from People Magazine. The previous one was from Politico. This one comes to us from People Magazine. So it's mainstream stuff if it's in People Magazine, pop culture stuff. Former WWE wrestlers Amanda Sacramento, Mandy Rose, I believe, and Sami Piscatelli got married. Do you remember either of these wrestlers? I admit I do not. You and I started watching just as Mandy Rose was on the way out from WWE. I do not remember Sami Piscatelli, who I think they mentioned that his name when he was wrestling was something else. Like it was Tino Sabatelli or something.
I don't know
who
he is, but Mandy Rose, they called up from NXT, and they never really. She wasn't that good.
Okay.
She was more just like very easy on the eyes, and then her gimmick was that she was pretty. She's just like, I'm a pretty girl. It was like an old school diva.
Okay.
So they brought her up. She wasn't very good. They eventually sent her back down to NXT, and she became the NXT Women's Champion as she was trying to like develop her stuff, which is a good sign, or it was at the time. But then she did some OnlyFans, which is which led her to be dismissed by the WWE. But she also made a bunch of money on her OnlyFans, like a bunch. So good for her to get paid, and Good for her to get married. She's probably got a good amount, a nice nest egg from the OnlyFans.
Yeah, People Magazine also with lots of pictures here. So, all best to the newly married couple. Good to see. Pro wrestling for a long time was such a difficult industry to work in and to have a family, but we've seen more wrestlers be able to have families and lives outside of wrestling, and for it not to be toxic. And on more than one occasion for wrestlers, now that especially that women have a big place in pro wrestling, couples from wrestling, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, probably the most famous of the current ones, but Andrade and Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley and Buddy Matthews. So wrestling, not the toxic industry that it used to be. Great news all around. And I've got one more wrestling thing outside of wrestling for you. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Are you ready to pour a glass of woo-ski? Ric Flair's got his own line of whiskey coming out. Coming soon from Ric Flair, Nature Boy on X. Coming soon, it's Woo-ski, the Nature Boy's finely aged Kentucky bourbon. Woo! And let me tell you, don't go easy on the pour here. When you pour some of Nature Boy's Woo-ski, you don't pour 2 fingers in that glass. You don't pour 3 fingers. We want 4 horsemen fingers of Woo-ski on the rocks in that glass. I've spilled more high-quality liquor in a weekend than you could afford in your lifetime. Woo!
That's it. That's the commercial, right? First of all, how hasn't Ric Flair had a bourbon? Now that I just saw it's like, yeah, this is. You're telling me this whole time he hasn't had his own liquor? He's the most famous drinker ever.
Right.
Like, he still right now is going to the bar. He still has videos pop up of him at the bar, stumbling around, dancing around. He wakes up in the morning early. He goes to the gym. He gets to the happy hour around 3-4 o'clock. He drinks himself silly for 5-6 hours and goes home every night. That's Ric Flair, baby.
Ric Flair's so anxious to get this out there and publicized that on his promo graphic here, they left the dummy text in there. Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet lorem ipsum. They left the dummy text. There's no advertising copy in this. It's the Nature Boy's whiskey, though. But hey, it goes down smooth like any lorem ipsum dolor sit should.
This is perfect. Yeah, this is a clip, Dom. Are you crazy? This is too fun. The fact that it took him so long to do it, but it's better late than never, right?
Yep.
Better late than never. Is there a better person to advertise it to? Because usually people go around and they want to advertise the stuff they're drinking. This guy drinks all the time.
Yes.
So it's gonna be so easy. Oh, he's gonna go to the bar. Oh, have some. He could do it word of mouth. Go to the bars and then be like, yo, drink my whiskey. It's mine. Oh, yeah,
He's probably got lots of contacts who will start stocking his product.
The only thing that could be a big problem is the supply of the whiskey going to go down if he gets his hands on it and he just starts drinking it, Is he going to drink all of his supply?
Is he skimming off the top there?
Yes. Is he skimming off the top? Not the money, the booze.
The booze itself.
Mm-hmm.
Nature Boy bourbon. John, it's pathologically frugal. It's unseasonably warm.
It's cheap heat. All right.
That's the segment. Tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments. Did we miss anything that you wanted us to talk about from this past week of pro wrestling news here in the U.S.? Do you agree, disagree with any of our takes on any of the things we did cover? We like hearing from you. We read the comments. If you're catching us live on any platform as we live stream here, thank you very much for finding us. and kindly go over to the YouTube channel. Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel on YouTube. John, you mentioned we're nearing 900 subscribers. Every subscriber means a lot to us because, once you get like 1 million, every subscriber, it's like it gets washed away in the numbers in the forest there.
Exactly.
But for a smaller channel, like 897 to 898, that's a big deal for us.
Yeah.
900 and 920, getting up to 1,000, big deal for us. Plus, if you go to YouTube and you subscribe, there's our mother load of content there. It's not only the archive of all these full shows, these live streams of Don't Bury the Lead. It's the great edited clips that you put out, John, that you pared down into the 5-minute range or whatever. It's also the hashtag shorts, the sub 60-second ones that go out. You create a lot of content for us there. There have been specials you've put out on the Alabama Slam, on Adam Copeland doing an elbow drop off the top of a cage that didn't work out well for anybody involved. Great content. It's all there at the YouTube channel. There's also a special premium join option for those of you who want even extra perks. And of course, we thank everybody who contributes at whatever level they can. Thank you to all the viewers. Don't bury the lead. Be a part of what we're doing over there at the big channel.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself, Dom. Good wrap up for what we're doing over there. And, I do have to say, thanks for jumping in today here and having we have one person on Twitch. We had about 2 or 3 people on YouTube. Usually have a couple more people than normal, but still consistently hung out there. So thanks for guys for watching. Yeah.
If the live chat is open, this is the Italian goodbye. John and I, we say the show's over, but then we kind of meander to the door and we keep talking. And, we open the door and we keep talking. And, we even get out to the car and, we follow out and we keep talking. So we're going for a little while. If you wanted to jump in and get yourself into the live stream, we welcome it for a few minutes more. John, this was a fun show to do again. It's the road to War Games, to Survivor Series. We talked about before that they're going to have to hustle to get this put together. Does it feel rushed, or does it feel like they're going to have enough time to do it right?
Yeah, so I think we're doing it right here. I think they're doing the right stuff. It doesn't seem too rushed. Now you can have the rivalry built up for the next couple of weeks. And even that rivalry doesn't necessarily need to be too built. Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, they're really building that one up well. So looking forward to seeing what that ends up turning into. I do want to see The Rock. I just want to be full transparency. I would love to see The Rock in War Games with the Bloodline 2.0. I wonder if he will make an appearance if he's not officially scheduled. That
could be 2 years in a row that we get a huge appearance at the end of War Games. Last year it was CM Punk.
Right.
Because it was in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk showed up right at the end. His music hit. This year, could it be The Rock, since it's a bloodline angle? It's an Anoa'i Maivia family angle. I mean, maybe The Rock shows up, gets involved. Maybe The Rock becomes the 5th man for one team or the other, and then they have to scramble to find a 5th man on the other side. I don't know.
Is he?
I'd like to see The Rock.
Yeah. Is he the 5th man? Is he the 3rd man?
Yes, the 3rd man in the NWO. Who's the 4th man in War Games? Who's the 5th man? They played it up well during SmackDown. So Sokoa said, where are you going to find 4 people to team with you to compete against our 5? And Roman saying, I don't see 5 guys here. And Solo starts counting off for him. It's me. It's Tama Tonga. It's Tonga Loa. It's Jacob Fatu. And he holds out the 5th finger and goes, and it's Sami Zayn.
I like that. No, I thought it was really cool. And I really did think it was Sami for a little bit. And then he booted him. So I guess there has been some back and forth between the two.
Yep.
Yeah. So as far as the channel's concerned, I do want to give a little bit of an update. we have. I'm going to have a video out with Cody Rhodes and Gunther.
Okay.
About the
Great match.
a breakdown of the
From
match.
Crown Jewel.
I just started doing it, so I'm hoping to get that out. I don't know, a week or two, because I don't want it to go too far.
Sure.
But I want to get it right. So I use a lot of I asked for permission from fans to use their footage.
Okay, crowdsourcing. Thanks
to
the online culture. Yes.
And there's so many people that go to these things and they take video and then they post it online. X is a great example to get footage like that from. They're happy for you to give it to them, because they're like, "Oh, cool, you're gonna use my footage to put a video." I'm like, "Yeah," and I'll be sure to, and I credit them. Absolutely. And I don't just put them in the description. I put them at the end. I put their name. I say what they do and all that. So
very good. 3 cheers for the IWC.
Really, that's when the internet's great, Yeah. But I'm breaking that down now. I'm thinking of a different strategy of going about creating the video. Now you're getting really into inside baseball here. But what I typically do is I take the videos and I cut them up and then I talk. I'm thinking about doing a talking segment and then put the video to what I'm talking about.
Oh.
So I set the script. This is what the video should sound like and and then what it looks like, I will build onto it.
Okay, that's really what your what those breakdowns are all about. Because obviously when we're recapping things, is we're talking about what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to do these breakdown videos, it's a neat wrinkle. It's a different style of production and of crafting the whole thing. And you've done a few that have been really good for us. We've had a few figure fours in there as well. Those are our videos that hit over 1,000 views. Yeah,
the CM Punk one's over 2,000. The Edge one was over 2,000, and the Tiffany and the Money in the Bank one was like 1,700. Lots of thumbs up, which is always a good sign. People actually liked it when they were clicking into it. So if we get a couple more of those, and then we get our subscribers out and we get out of jail, I think we're looking at monetization around the corner, Tom.
That would be interesting. It might pay for the subscription for the streaming platform that allows us to do this.
Much like Tony Khan, we will invest the money back into the business.
Absolutely. We will reinvest into our product to make the product better.
Because that's what we do for you people. Now hit subscribe. This is what we're doing for you.
Very good. Yes. Who wants to be subscriber number 898? Who wants to be subscriber 899? Who wants to be subscriber 900? Help us on the way to 900, which then, of course, is on the way to 1,000, which is on the way to however many people want to voluntarily join us here.
Yeah. I'll show you. Oh, man, this is some very Italian goodbye stuff.
Okay.
But
does it involve cannoli? Sfigatelli. Tiramisu. Little espresso.
It is. Let's see if it works.
There we go. Let's see. What do we got? Are we trying to share? There we are, sharing a screen.
This is the wrestling match I was at today. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
So now
I'm announcing it.
Okay. Now, who's wrestling here? It's very small on my screen. Are these adults, kids, youth wrestling?
These are very old men.
Okay.
I'll zoom it. Cameraman, zoom. Oh, no, I can't zoom it.
Oh, it's zooming the chat.
They are wrestling right here. Short time.
Okay, I see people moving around, but
let's see if I can get that more.
See if you can get some of your color commentary on there.
So we're going into still It's going to be good to see. There's a weight difference.
Uh-oh. Well,
it's going to be good to see. There's a weight difference. Yeah, so you can clearly see the weight difference. So I'm excited to see. This is the main event. All right, it's both.
Weight difference matters in Greco-Roman wrestling, any kind of amateur wrestling. That's a big deal.
Yeah, this is the main event.
Like, Liv Morgan's not beating Nia Jax even with a little help in regular wrestling. That's a very tall order.
These were the entrances.
All right. Did the entrances take like 10 minutes with all the music and the lights?
No, it's not WWE. It's trying to be WWE style. We've literally had to say, hey, give it 5 seconds, then run. Because people would usually just run. Oh, it's all messed
These
up.
entrances are great. I can't wait for the commercial once the match starts.
Right now, it's all messed up, so I'm going to stop playing it.
I would give it to Bob.
Oh, here's my smart-ass commentary. Hang on.
Okay, and this is at a nearby southern New Jersey facility.
Yep, it's in Deptford on Route 47.
Very good.
Really close to you.
Okay.
Well, not so far. You're farther down 47, but...
Yeah, 47 gets up into the Deptford Mall area.
I would give it to Bob Scabelli. I don't know who's going to win the wrestling match, though, George.
That was my line. I said if it was a beer drinking contest, I would give it to Mark Loomis. If it was a wine drinking contest, I would give it to Bob Scabelli. I don't know who's going to win the match, though.
Well, that's the kind of inside wrestling stuff that your viewers appreciate.
Right.
If it's a woo-ski drinking contest, you're giving it to the Nature Boy.
The woo-ski. So great. Yeah, the woo-ski is amazing. I think it's going to blow up, and I can't wait to drink it myself. Maybe I'll have it on, one of the shows. I'll have a glass of it or something and just get all fired up. If I don't have work the next day or I don't have the kid the next day, I'm like, yeah, whiskey. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, there's the carrot being dangled for all of you watching who have not subscribed yet. Do you want us to sample a bottle of woo-ski on a future live stream?
Oh, what if it tastes awful? What if it tastes like gasoline? You're like, oh, what's in this flare?
Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of assuming that if it's a good Kentucky bourbon, I mean, it's probably going to be a little harsh anyway. I mean, bourbon is not it's not the vino, it's not the beer with the lower alcohol volume. I mean, I believe Flair's post there said it's 90 proof, so it's not going to be killer stuff, but 90 proof is high. Sure. Anything above 40 that's in the fine spirits and liquor category, anything above 40%, which is 80 proof and above, it's you expect it to be a little bit harsh.
For sure. And yeah, I have to say it is.
How do you take your whiskey, John? Do you put a mixer in with it? Are you straight whiskey? Are you neat whiskey? Do you do the mixers? What do you like?
There's been times when I've done whiskey and I've just done it straight, and that never is fun. I sometimes you get some really good whiskey and you can take it, you can shoot it, and you don't taste it. But that whole style of drinking for me is out the window at this age where I'm at. If I'm going to do whiskey, it'll be in a drink, like in a mixed drink.
Mixed drink. Okay.
Yeah.
I have done whiskey straight, not neat. Neat is when you put nothing in it. Mm-hmm. Straight is when you maybe add some water to it, but not a mixer. Mm-hmm. I will do straight. I've done other liquors that same way, straight. I'm also not into shooting them because it's a waste of the liquor. I mean,
Seriously.
especially if it's the good stuff. If you can't sip it, then it's not good for anything except maybe cooking.
Mm-hmm.
I remember people who drink a lot more than me, a lot more often than I do, have said that to me. If you can't sip it, if you have to shoot it because it's just that bad, then really it's not good for anything except really cooking.
If it's like that, there was many moons ago, I was pretty broke, and 2000, I think I was 25 years old, 24 years old, and I had moved to Philadelphia, and they had this thing called the Citywide Special, and it was a shot of Heaven's something or other. I gotta get the name of this whiskey. It was a 16-ounce PBR and a shot of whiskey. Heaven Hill.
Okay.
Heaven Hill whiskey, which was in a plastic bottle. And it was so bad because it was summertime. So they pour the whiskey and it would be like warm. So I'd take a shot of warm whiskey and follow it with a 16-ounce of PBR. So those were the days, let me tell you.
That was your training regimen during the Bonsall Street Bomber days.
It was really me getting into the mental space. What's the Bonsall Street Bomber? What's he like? It's like, yeah, he drinks very cheap alcohol. And then I would blame things on everyone.
Yeah,
this isn't good enough, stuff like that. This is too expensive. Why is it so expensive? It don't matter to me. I know Diamond Old Scruggs. He'll buy it all, but it shouldn't be this high in price. And you're slow what you do, Nobody...
Diamond Earl Scruggs did not get as wealthy as he did by making bad deals.
This is true. As wealthy as he did. Yeah.
Very good. All right. So this 3 weeks from Survivor Series. So we've got 2 more SmackDowns, November 15th and 22nd. And then for the November 29th SmackDown, we're going to kind of push that one and cover Survivor Series on Saturday the 30th. That is, of course, Thanksgiving weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be perhaps a little sleepy from whatever's in the turkey.
Right.
We will be hopefully enjoying leftovers, but getting some fresh stuff from the WWE during Survivor Series. So
right.
two SmackDowns really left until the big show. Do you expect anything? Any fantasy booking you want to do before then? We haven't heard of what maybe the women's War Games match will be if they do one.
I'd like to see Gunther bounce back and get a win.
Okay.
After losing to Cody. It felt like that's not over, though. So I wanted him to get another win on a pay-per-view where he just beats up on someone.
I would maybe there will be a Gunther title match at Survivor Series. Any ideas for what the women's match could be? It's since the men's War Games looks like it's going to be SmackDown. They're probably going to make the women's War Games something from that'll be Raw heavy with the Raw roster.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what Raw will look like and what it'll shape up to be heading into that.
Anybody in the comments? You think? What do you guys think?
What do you think if they're going to do women's War Games? What do you think women's War Games could be like this year? For probably mostly having a Raw roster. Give us your predictions there. We don't see Raw a lot. I do watch some of the clips that WWE puts out on its various platforms, but it's a mystery as to what it could be there. But yeah, maybe we get a Gunther match at Survivor Series as a title match. Let's see. We just got Crown Jewel where we got a few title matches and they were great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the champion versus champion stuff was cool. The triple threat for the U.S. title was well done. So I wonder how the Survivor Series is probably going to be a 5-match card because the War Game matches typically are long. So you're looking at 3 other matches. So yeah, if you're in the chat, in the comments, tell us what you'd want to see at War Games. If you have an idea for the women's War Games and you have suggestions for the other 3 matches, let us know because, as we've said before, they watch us, the WWE brass. They watch Don't Bury the Lead.
I know they do.
They've gotten ideas from us in the past. I mean, it can't be just a coincidence.
No.
And the man with 3 H's has jumped into the live chat before.
That is true. The man with 3 H's.
So they're not even trying to hide it. Like man with 3 H's. Oh, I wonder who that is. So very good stuff on the horizon for us. We have passed the 2-year mark. We are well into year 3 here of live streaming with Don't Bury the Lead. It's been a good ride for us. This will be our 3rd Survivor Series that we do. If I'm not mistaken, Survivor Series 2022 was the first premium live event that you and I recapped. So this is sort of an anniversary for us coming up, Survivor Series.
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
I think that's the first one we did.
Yeah. Ooh, that was the Survivor Series. I'm trying to think of which one that was.
That was Bloodline versus the Brawling Brutes.
Oh.
Sheamus, all their guys versus the Bloodline. Yeah.
Not nearly as stacked as this one coming up.
What would that one had? Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Sheamus, all former world title holders.
Okay, I digress.
And then it was Rich Hollins and Pete Dunne, who was back then going by Butch. It was those 5 versus at the time would have been the 5 of the Bloodline.
And is that when they make Sami Zayn kick Kevin?
Yes.
Yeah. And then
Sami Zayn finished off Kevin Owens and then handed him to Jey Uso for the win. And that was when Sami Zayn was, we thought, brought fully into the Bloodline until it all fell apart on Raw and then at Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that was the beginning of that storyline. It was fantastic. I wonder what's yeah.
And now it's the get back together.
All right, Tom.
And Sammy's right. Kevin Owens has his shirt. Kevin was right. Sami is right. If they're going to get back together this time, it's got to be that they're equals.
Yeah.
And they got to, and so Roman has to learn to respect the other guys. I think this will be a really interesting angle for what it does to Roman's character.
For sure.
Does he actually respect the other people who are on his team?
All right, Tom. Well, we're getting kind of close to the end here. We've been Italian goodbye for a while. We're in the parlor.
We've been at the end for a long time.
We've been at the parlor. You gave me some leftover food I can take home that is currently cold.
It's okay. Pop it in the oven. You can microwave it if you need to. You can zap it.
You can zap it. Yeah.
That's
the Italian way.
Sure.
The Italian way. You can zap it.
Or I'll let you in on a little secret. The pasta and the eggplant. You can eat it cold right out of the fridge. It's wonderful.
You're making me hungry, Dom.
Right.
All right, everyone. Well, Dom, thanks so much for hopping on. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone that joined us tonight. Tonight was a fun one. I saw a lot of people were on and you guys were quiet. That's okay. Be quiet and we'll make the show work. So
sure. We're loud.
Yeah. We can ramble. So Dom, again, thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your evening.